In this video, I'll be showing you all of my best settings I use for shooting time lapses during the day on the Insta360 ONE RS. This little camera with the 4K boost lens, which is only $299, does a really good job shooting those daytime time lapses. Especially when you have the correct settings plugged into it, you can get some really good results. In today's video, I'm going to show you those best settings that I use for getting the best possible time lapse. Now, it is important to note that this time lapse will be with the photo mode. So this is going to mean you're going to get hundreds or thousands of individual photos that you will then edit and put together to make a time lapse. It is possible to do a video mode time lapse on here, but I do find that doesn't give quite as good results as the photo mode, so I'm going to go through the photo mode settings in today's video. The photo mode does require more work at the end for editing, but I find it gives a lot better results, and in my opinion, it's worth it to use the photo mode. Let's get started. What you're gonna do is you're gonna wanna swipe here, and you're gonna wanna go to interval. This is the same setting that I use for getting great night lapses with this camera. If you haven't seen my night lapse video, I've linked to it above. So what we wanna do for the daytime time lapses is we wanna change a couple settings here. First of all, we wanna keep it set to the 48 megapixels. It's gonna give you the highest res photo with the most detail in it. And then we wanna swipe left next to start changing these settings. First setting here, we wanna make sure it's JPEG plus RAW, because that RAW photo is going to give you the highest possible detail, and it's gonna look really good when you go to edit that later on. The next setting we wanna change here is the interval time. For a daytime time lapse, I recommend keeping it at 5 seconds. That's a good interval to work with, and if you've got clouds in the sky or other objects like that, it generally is going to handle those at a good interval. For the shutter speed, we want to tweak this. And generally, we're gonna actually want to set that to auto. Having an auto shutter for a daytime time lapse is generally going to work best. For the ISO, we want to change this, and we want to lower it quite a bit. Generally, I like to keep the ISO set no higher than 200 for a daytime time lapse, but usually I like to go to 100. If you keep it set to 100, there is no lower ISO for the camera to adjust to. So I love having that technique of keeping it set at 100, and I'll often use that for sunset. So if I'm filming like from the afternoon to when it gets dark, if I keep it at 100, the lighting is perfect. The lighting looks like it should, and the sky gradually gets darker and fades to black. So that's one of my favorite techniques to use with this, and that is one of the keys to a great daytime time lapse, keeping that ISO set to 100. It also gives you really good looking results in normal daytime lighting. For the white balance, this is gonna be dependent upon what time of day you're filming. If you're filming in the middle of the day, you're generally gonna wanna keep this at 5,000. However, if you are filming a sunrise or a sunset, or if your video is starting with or ending with a sunrise or sunset, I do recommend setting this to 6,000 or 6,500K. 6,500K is my preference. That's going to give you the best results, and it's gonna really capture some of those lights, and they're gonna look good with that white balance. And those are the settings right there for a great daytime time lapse. So there you have it. Those are all of my best settings for shooting a great daytime time lapse using the photo mode on the Insta360 ONE RS. I hope you found this video to be helpful, and I hope you have a lot of fun shooting time lapses on this camera.